Hello and welcome to the School of Stock. The School of Stock is the educational segment of day trading radio. My name is John Kurisko, and most of you might know me as DayTraderRockStar on Day Trading Radio. I broadcast there each and every day, all day from 8 o'clock to 4 o'clock, and I teach very disciplined, precise, and successful methodology. And School of Stock is where you're going to find the course on how to learn that. You'll find two basic courses on this site. The main HPS course, which is the high probability setups, plus many other courses that will probably catch you up to this point where you could actually benefit from the two courses. So we do have some beginner free information on this site also. There's two premium courses. The first one is the most important one. It is the high probability methodology. This is basically, in a nutshell, the whole method of trading, how I trade, and how I've been trading or developing the trade over the last 21 years. I started trading in 1996, and as I always recount the story on the radio, I've learned all the ways to lose money, and when you do that, you learn to eliminate that, and you keep what is successful. And that is exactly what the School of Stock is. And as you know, and if you listen to the show ever, you'll see that we have a very precise and accurate method of trading, and this I've tried to pass on to you on this site. Another reason I wanted to put out this video is really to go into detail, which I always do on my videos, is the importance of having a good methodology behind you. Trading is so hard. I've been in it a long time. I would say going on officially, I started looking at stocks 92. I started trading full time 96. And over that time, probably the weakest link in my trading, other than the learning curve, was the discipline and patience. And over time, I've learned that that is the most important, two important things that you need to really instill in your trading to be successful, and to be successful consistently. You could trade trends, you could trade, you could catch earnings, you could have some good luck and stuff, but to trade consistently, you really do have to have some great patience, and you have to have a strict discipline, not just on getting into positions, but also getting out of positions. And that is the hardest thing, because as human beings, as we all know, we all have these flaws. We're not robots, we're not mechanical black boxes. All right, we have these mistakes that we make: greed, fear, all these things. And what I want to do is talk about this, in this course. This course really breaks down in a very precise manner the different levels and different techniques that we use to trade this, but also how this relates to everyday activities. So if you're not a trader, but you might be familiar with something else, say baseball or sport, blackjack, gambling, even fishing. There's a lot of sports out there, a lot of activities out there that you might be familiar with, and you probably have the same characteristics or need some of the same skill sets to be successful at those as you will in trading. I'm just going to go over the three examples fast, and we're going to talk about the American pastime, good old baseball. Now, you might be a baseball fan, you might not. Maybe it's soccer or something else, maybe it's another sport, but the important thing is to be an athlete, to be great at what you're doing. It takes practice, discipline, and in the case of baseball, waiting for your pitch, patience. You can't just swing at every pitch, and that's the underlying theme that I'm trying to get through with the example of baseball. A baseball player, a person standing at the bat is waiting for that pitch to come in, and at certain times of at his at-bat series, he could be behind the count or ahead of the count, and that each one of these periods means something to him. He could adjust his way he's going to take the next pitch and stuff. And we all know that if you swing at a pitch out of the strike zone, you have less chance of actually getting on base. So we could actually look at an example of a chart here, and this is just a generic chart, but mostly when you have the pitch over the plate, you tend to get the best hit, versus if it's up a little bit higher, you tend to pop up. If it's on or down in the dirt or low, you tend to ground it, give you a ground ball. And if something's inside or outside, sometimes you just tip it off or foul ball it. And if it's out of the strike zone, you're going to miss it totally. So the important thing is to understand that and wait for that pitch. And the same thing in trading. You know, when we look at charts and stuff, and I'm going to show you a chart right now. We take a look at this chart, you'll see, and this is just actually today's action. When I broadcast the markets and I point out the levels that are of interest, or where you know, these are the pitches that are coming to us. So if one's going to be over the plate, this is basically representative of an area that we're looking for a move, a pivot move. Like, so we moved down here off of a sell signal, so you had a nice move down. So if we put a circle in here, which I represents as a buy signal, and squares are represented sell signals, so short signals, we have a good example of, you know, a better move up here. So this is a pitch across the plate when we were able to get this. And this circle represents the high probability zone. That high probability zone is what you'll learn with the HPS method. You'll learn why this area has a blue circle around it. Why does this area have a square on it? You know, why is that a sell zone? Why is this a buy zone? What are these circles? What are the squares? How do we get to them, and how do you trade them? And you can see the results. This is not put in after the fact. These circles and squares are done each and every day off of my trading. And, you know, we go back and we outline these. The blue ones are important, and we can go back all the way every single day for the last, you know, how many weeks you won't even go through. We look at these levels, and you can see each of these levels means something. All right? They each mean something. Now, not to say that every single 100% of the signals are going to, you know, or your technique is going to work all the time. There's always the outside chance of news or something going on in the markets. And just like in baseball, you know, even you could even miss a great pitch sometimes. But the important thing is to know that you have the odds in your favor. You have an edge. You know, the pitch is over the plate. You're taking your best swing at it, and you understand why. And that all leads to be successful. You know, really successful in baseball. You have to have those skills, or else you're not going to make it to the big leagues, you know, and there's not many people to make it to the big leagues, and that's what type of discipline and patience you need. Blackjack or gambling, you know, gambling. Not all gambling's equal though. Blackjack is statistically one of the you have the best odds of winning, or you have the best chances percentage in a casino if you play by the rules. And that's another reason why we use that blackjack as an analogy with trading. Trading and blackjack require the same skill set. You require patience. You require the right hand before taking the big bet. And you get an edge if you could get everything lined up properly. And getting things lined up properly means the cards you're holding versus the cards the dealer's holding. Now the dealer could be holding some, you know, a combination of cards, and their top card, which is facing everyone, could be giving you a sign of what she might be holding. You got half of the formula right there that she's holding. So they have a method and percentage and statistics all about this, and it's all written out for you, and everyone knows it. That's why when you sit down at a blackjack table and you go against what the rule book should, or what the rule book says you should do, you'll get a lot of flack from people sitting next to you, because statistically, you know, if the dealer has a 5 or a 6 or even a 4, it tends to bust more, a higher percentage of it busting. So if you're playing with other people and they have money at stake, and you end up seeing that the dealer has a 5 or 6, but you end up taking a hit card, or you take a card or do something out of what you shouldn't be doing, you could affect the game, and you'll lose that statistical edge. The same thing with the markets. You have to wait for that opportunity. You could sit there and not bet hard until you actually get a good percentage bet. And it's the same thing with poker. You know, you can wait until you get the right hand before you bet. You can play it tight and cheap, or you can be aggressive and just bet every hand. And sometimes you're going to make it, and sometimes you're not. But you know, if you want to be in the game, there's certain rules. There's a way of winning. And that's the essence of high probability setups and some of the other courses you're going to see here. It's very important to understand that. That is the key, the discipline, the patience, and the underlying understanding of how the markets work. Our last example would be fishing, and I'm a big fisherman. And I'm just going to use this as an example and saying, you know, not just every fishing. I mean, it's important to know when to go fishing, the weather, the tides. If you're fishing salt water, the tides are very important, especially where I fish. We have a river. Sometimes on the outgoing tide and the low tide, fishing is no good. But when the tide starts to move in, that's the time you want to be fishing. And also we look at the lunar and the moon and to tell if we're going to have a real big tide, and that's going to bring in more bait fish. It's going to raise the water up maybe into an area where it doesn't go, and it's going to stir up some more things, and the fish are going to feed more. So there's levels and times of the day that are feeding times, and the same thing. It's just everything that you want to be great at, you have to learn the rules. And that's just the main thing I wanted to get across from you, because we have the perfect opportunity here. We have the perfect methodology. Everything works well. It's about the patience and discipline. So let's move on and see what you're going to learn here. I have a saying here at School of Stock. There's one way to do things, and that's the right way. Anything other than the right way is probably the wrong way, especially when you're dealing with money. It makes a lot of sense, right? The courses here could be applied to stocks, futures, options, forex. It could, be applied to anything. It's very simple. It's in depth. We're going to go and look at it right now just to see what some of the categories are and some of the lessons you will be seeing. There are 3 courses currently offered. The middle course here is something I recommend everyone starting with if you're a beginner trader. It's an introduction to stock charts and trading for kids, students, and beginners. I made it a basic course. It's free. I might put another basic course on there, but actually this is multiple courses all in one, and I'll show you that in a bit. But this goes over again what the basic terminology is. What is a chart? How can you trade? How can you trade using a chart? Basic charting techniques, trend lines, moving averages, support and resistance, basic patterns, wedges and channels, and much more. It's really, stock trading 101. That you should have all these skills, understand all the terminology before you move on to the high probability trading method and the ultimate divergence trading course. The high probability trading method on the right here. This is everything. This is my 20 years of research and experience in the markets broken down into many different lessons. I think we have like 20-something lessons on there. And this is everything. This is all the playbook. This is my notebooks. This is everything that goes into trading. A main part of this, or a significant part of the high probability method, is trading divergences. And the divergence here is very important. So I made actually an additional course on this, which goes into much more detail on this. All right, we're going to go over a brief overview of what you'll find on the foundation course, High Probability Trading Method. 20 years of research. Now, this is just an overview of the lessons that come with the course here. We'll start off with our first lesson, philosophy, methodology, and goals. Basically, the philosophy behind the system, the method, and the goals where we want to reach. And it could be anything. Goals are an important part of my trading. I find that it's motivating. Trading can be a lonely thing, and it's good to have these goals, short-term goals, long-term goals. Very important. And I had goals growing up. I had goals of, living on the beach and trading, and it all came about. So it's important to have those. Lesson number 2, high probability method. Why is it the best trading strategy? Again, kind of go into why. And we've covered a lot of that anyway. That's a free one, just kind of an introductory. And then I go into a history of myself and my trading history going back to the 90s. And then we get started. What is required in to take this course and basically become a trader. Remember, this is a foundation course. This is basically an all-in-one. There's a lot of good information on here. Everything, it covers everything. So this part here, trading, getting started in trading, what is required, that's going to go over your computers, your software, your broker, your charting software. These are not required. Everyone has a different broker maybe. Everyone has a different charting service, but these are some suggestions and just, pretty much required material. We'll talk about that a little. Then we get into trading basics, basically definitions and terms, just to make sure you're familiar with certain terms that I'll be using throughout the course. And then we get down into the detailed area. Now, high probability methodology is usually broken down into 5 different indicators. Trends and trend lines is one of them. So we have a nice segment on trends and trend lines and how the HPS setups are based off of that and what is required for that. The 1, 2, 3 pattern recognition. This is a key term that I've coined. The 1, 2, 3 pattern is actually seeing a channel before it develops and knowing when to trade a channel. Now, trend lines and channels go together hand in hand. And just to give you an example, we'll take a look at the we'll take a look at what you see. So if you go to the course, you're taking a course here, we're going to start talking about the 1, 2, 3 pattern. You're going to see multiple examples of this. Now, you could click on these right now and they would open up, but because I am just uploading a lot more charts on here, they're not on the server yet, so if I click on it, I think it's going to go to an empty page. But these charts will get bigger if you click on them. And basically, that way you could actually read what the annotations are and stuff, and it explains basically with a video also what the 1, 2, 3 pattern is. And we talk about different ways it sets up, just very detailed information here. And then we go into some other patterns that are important, head and shoulders, how it works with the channels, wedge patterns in detail. My individual tips would be in red. So I think those are very important. These are, there's years and years of trading tips on how these things typically break out. When it comes to a wedge pattern, I've studied wedge patterns all my life, and and have them down, and I could pretty much predict when they're going to break out, if it's a good wedge pattern or not. So we go into detail on how to determine that, and I can show you multiple examples on that. And it goes on and on. You can see this is just one lesson, and there's quite a bit of information. We go down to flags, how to trade flags, different patterns, only the important patterns. And you're able to actually ask questions on the course. You can ask me a question, I'll get right back to you on it. This is going to be my little baby. So this foundation course and the Divergence course probably will just get bigger. I will add to it. If you take the course, you will always have access to that course. And as you see later on other sections and other lessons, you will see those live charts there. So I'm going to get to those. But you can ask questions there, get them answered. There'll be a community of students. All right. So we'll go back here. We're going to go back to next 1, 2 pattern recognition and support and resistance. We go over support and resistance. Stochastics, very important. Remember, we give a good basic course on stochastics here, but stochastics are so important in the methodology that I've done a secondary course on it, when that's called the Divergence course, because it's Divergence on stochastics. So the secondary course following this up, the more advanced course, is the other course that kind of supplements this. This is the foundation. The other one really focuses on stochastics and the Divergence, which is one of our go-to trades. So we go into it a little here, but the details on the other video. Candlesticks and reversals, very important. It's part of the methodology. You learn about the candles. We talk about them all the time. Again, you'll see a lot of examples. I'll go into them. We break them down. See here. Candlesticks, head and shoulder patterns, and inverse head and shoulders, rising and falling wedges. Very good, breakdown of how to trade these. The go-to trade. This is one of my favorite patterns to trade. So I did a little extra work on that, a little extra lesson on that. Then this is really the key stuff. This is the DTR DayTraderRockStar Playbook trade setup. These are all the trades I take in the market. So when I talk about a trade playbook, I have a playbook of about 10 different setups, and this is based off of technical analysis, off the methodology, and these are all the trades setups that I trade. So you have my personal trade setups there. Then we have the chart examples used live. So I update the live charts on here whenever we're trading them. We explain that these are off the HPS watch list. So these are high probability setup stocks, but as a member of Day Trading Radio, you get alerted to when they set up. So you actually get an email alert saying there's a high probability setup in this stock, and you'll get the chart, and these are the charts that we send out. So just that will always be updated, so you'll get those charts updated on here. HPS chart examples, again, we just went over that. Flags and pennants, very important part of the trade. And then we go into some scalping of the E-mini futures using the HPS methodology to scalp the E-mini futures, and how to use it also trade in other trading vehicles. And then using the Tradeometer to trade the S&P 500, the SPX, SPY, and then the associated ETFs. Now the Tradeometer is just an extra thing that I think I might, for people to take the course, actually give them a long trial on this. They might get it. It works so well with the methodology because it's searching out what we look for on stochastics, and it gives us the alerts and stuff. So it's a really good tool to use. And this is a detailed video and a description of how it works and why it works. That is the HPS Foundation course. Alright, so let's just finish up taking a look at the Ultimate Divergence Trading course, the other course that goes along with the HPS methodology course. Just a fast overview here. All the lessons here are video lessons. Each video here is probably between like 15 and 40 minutes. So these video lessons, trading divergence in all time frames, the perfect ES trade setup, how to set up divergence trades with the stop and profit zone, divergence trade with a stop and profit zone. So we kind of detailed how to set that stop and how to set that profit zone and how to tell where that is. How to set up your charts for divergence trading. I show you all the indicators, my charts, how they're set up. I even give you the template that you can just upload it. How to spot divergence trades. Of course, we go over divergence. This is a real detailed course here. How to use reversal candles for higher probability trades and more aggressive entries, and updated lane divergence examples. And those are going to be just real-time lane divergences that continue to get updated each day. And especially if there's a lane divergence in a channel and stuff, we want to keep on looking at. So that's just all these divergence setups. You're going to see current divergences plus any examples, just so you understand and get it pounded into you how important they are. Well, thank you for checking out the School of Stock. And if you want to see some of the methodology live in action, always be sure to tune into DayTraderRadio.com every day, which we use this methodology. And I hope you enjoy it. I hope you find success in trading.